Here we go. I think we're all in the room, guys. Welcome to this amazing Wicked Wednesday. Woo! We have an incredible artist here today. We are so honored to have this artist with us because it's not often that you get, someone like this to come on and not only work with you, but then get to share their stories and insights. So you know this person from the Glee Project, of course, from season 3 of Glee, Grey's Anatomy, Drop Dead Diva, and of course making her Broadway debut in the little show called Wicked as a tiny part called Elphaba. Please welcome Lindsay Pearce.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Hey,
It is always so strange to hear your resume read back to you. I'm always like,
isn't it the most uncomfortable?
it's the weirdest thing.
It's pretty amazing though. You've had, for a young woman, you've had quite a cool career and a really interesting journey, like starting in like reality TV, landing a role on a show, and then getting a bunch of other guest starring spots on a bunch of other shows.
Yeah.
And now again making your Broadway debut as Elphaba. That doesn't happen very often.
Banana boat.
Bananas, yes. So let's before we get to the Wicked part, I just want to talk really quick about so for those of you who may not know, she was on the Glee Project, which was a reality show that was competing to get I believe a 7-episode arc, right?
Yes.
Is what the prize was.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a runner-up along with another gentleman who both then was it a surprise? Did you not know that you were going to get?
No idea.
Oh, that's so cool.
Those reactions in that finale were 100%
like
absolutely real.
It's so cool. So you got surprised with a 2-episode arc, and you got rave reviews. All of the response to it was like Anything Goes and
Buenos Aires,
right. Got like such great responses, and so yeah, I just really quickly before we even go on to talking about being on set for that, what was it like doing a reality show, and then what was it like doing the show? Like how different were they? Because I've been on a reality show. And it was a single camera shoot reality show. It was on Theatricals reality show.
Yes.
And it was so like hysterical because it was like they'd film you and then they go, oh, we didn't get that, or we need to do it again and pretend like there's another camera there. And they would tell you then in the second take, third take, fourth take, what to say.
Could you guys go back and repeat that thing that you said about that one thing? And you're all like,
yes, exactly. So scripted, but how was that experience for you?
It was similar to that. It was the same style of shooting. It was wild. A lot of people, as I've grown, because that was 10 years ago. So right. as 10 years have gone by, a lot of people have said, would you ever do that again? And I think as an older person now, I'd say absolutely not. But 19, some of us had tons of experience, some of us had no experience at all. We didn't understand what editing would do in post. We didn't understand how many people we're going to see. We were really getting
how little control you really have in that situation.
We actually had, how isolating it was. It was an incredible experience in terms of what it did, how it molded, how it kind of made us pull ourselves, because it wasn't like we were able to call home all the time or have a vacation. Those of us who stayed until the finale were there for 10 weeks without phones, without contact to the outside world. We had no computers. We didn't know there was an entire tsunami break that happened in Japan and we didn't know about it.
No.
Huge. It was all through, we filmed from February to April of 2011, and then we aired June of that same year. And
that's wild.
We had no clue what it was going to look like. We had no clue, we had no clue that like the questions that we got asked would either be used for or against us. It was a really powerful lesson in authenticity. It was a really powerful lesson in standing by your beliefs. It was a really powerful lesson in what you could and could not accomplish if you, however you set your mind to the manifestation of it all, if that makes sense.
I would
And
imagine it also like oddly prepared you for if you're ever sequestered on a jury or for quarantine, like being completely shut in.
I mean, I was like, I feel like if you just put a camera in here, you could get some really good content.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, and you know, it was like very, very few times in your life is your privacy so prevailed over by other people. And
Yeah.
so that was something in terms of like the actual filming of a reality television show. So many viewers only see what has been molded for them to see, you know, creating drama out of nothing, or there is no drama, or there's sing for your life and it went really well, but somehow the editing made it go terribly. You know, it's like a really,
Right.
really interesting dynamics. And so that was also an interesting
I
lesson.
got asked, there was a conflict on the show that I was on, and I was asked to create it. Like they were like, "Can you come in?
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
come
well,
in and like do this thing?" And
it
like, blah, blah,
happens.
blah. And I was like, "Okay." And I had to be the person that like came in and like
Yep,
up the room,
started it.
you know what I mean, and like laid down the law. And I was like, it was total fake.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, I experienced something that not everybody else on that show experienced, which was being the villain.
Right.
That was rough. It was rough to be hated by 180,000 followers on Twitter, and it was rough to have photos sent to places of work where I was performing at theaters with my photos chopped up into a million tiny pieces and telling me to go hang myself. You know,
Oh,
that's rough. And
wow.
I won't lie and say that that did not deeply affect me when I was 19
Wow.
and first
Oh
coming
my
in.
God.
And
That
I
had to be
mean,
fun.
that kind of behavior had me doing this
Oh,
all the time,
I'm sure even
all the
still,
time.
that kind of stuff sticks with
Yeah.
you. I mean, when you're bullied like
Yeah.
that, as most artists are to some degree, right? You know, it sticks with you for your whole life. But it helps shape who you are as a person and as an artist. You know.
Yes, I have a distinct memory of I was playing Snow White for the Lithgows, who if anybody knows who the
Yes.
Lithgows
Love
are,
them, yeah.
American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance. I was working with the Lithgow family and
The Pantos.
we were
Yeah.
doing Snow White the Panto, and that's when Glee Project was at its like height and it was doing its second season, and I was getting catfished by people claiming to being cast members of Glee. I mean, it was absolutely insane. But I remember all of this happening and going, over my dead body, will I ever do this to somebody else? And over my
Oh,
dead
right.
body, will I ever allow anybody in my life to treat somebody this way? And will I ever allow my friends to be treated this way? So I
Yeah.
think it was really eye-opening, and it was a big slice of humble pie. And
And
and it, you
what
know,
was that like? What for? Just touching on that real quick, because so many people buy into reality TV as
as reality.
reality. It's
Yeah.
wild. No matter how many times conversations like this happen on a much larger level, like on the news or on talk shows or whatever, people still can't grasp. I mean, there are people that you see interviews with celebrities who play villains on shows,
Yeah.
and they get accosted from people in the street going like, "How could you do that?" And you're like, because I was paid to learn those lines and I was paid to act out that scene is why.
Literally every character in Game of
Right.
Thrones ever.
Right. But with,
Every
yeah.
character.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you can imagine with reality TV, people really buying into, because we want to believe that it's real, right? We want to believe how, you know, that it's that we're really watching, you know, we're getting to be the fly on the wall. But for
Yeah.
you, like getting played out to be like a villain on a reality show, like I just binge watched, oh shoot, it's on Netflix, and it's like they they propose to each other and they get married, and
Oh, Love is Blind?
yes, Love is Blind. God, I loved it.
I've not watched it because I honestly I don't watch reality television. So
Okay,
this
I
has
don't
been a
either, but I
show,
highly
but it's
suggest
so
this show.
rough.
I
Yeah.
highly suggest this show because actually at the end they do a recap with
Yeah.
the girl that you totally hate her.
I know.
And they do a recap
She's
at the end.
probably a nice person.
When she actually talked about herself. She was like, it was really rough watching
Yeah.
that back. And for
Yeah.
her, she
Yep.
admitted that, you know, she kind of was that person.
Yeah.
And so it was a really big learning experience for her, going like, oh man, like it changed my life in a
Yeah.
way that, you know, for the worse and for the better, you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
she dealt with, you know, obviously similar things with people.
Yeah.
You know,
And
doing,
I'm not going to sit here and be like, I was a victim, I was a martyr. There were certainly things that 19-year-old small town Lindsay didn't realize she was doing. And then when you have a black mirror showing you back what people actually perceive you as, or the way that you come off, or the way that you can be twisted, I was
yeah,
like, oh dear.
yeah.
I like I look
It's,
I've seen scenes sent to me, you know, Instagram accounts or things that get sent to you in messages, and I'm like, oh my god, that little girl was on her way to being a Karen. And I'm so glad I did not become a Karen. I hope, knock on wood. But it really, I was like, oh my god. But really, there was a reason why people were like, this girl's the little Rachel Berry and yada yada, because I was just so hungry and I was so excited, and I didn't come from a place where uh you know,
you
it's
had that
different
kind of, you were
when you
surrounded.
work in theater with friends all the time. It's different when you're working, and I was able to completely take responsibility and step away
Well,
when I needed
that had to be like
to.
a really powerful experience for you in so
Yeah.
many ways. And
Yeah.
but I want to now move on to being on Glee. Then you
Yeah.
got your 2 episode arc. What a like because I don't want to. I want to. We have so many things to talk about. I don't want to spend like too much time on it. But for everyone that would love to hear, what was it like being on set? Who was like super warm and welcoming? You know, or was it because it was so fast and furious? Was there even time to have that kind of experience? And how long was your rehearsal process and all that kind of stuff?
I will say thank God I'd been able to do Glee Project before Glee, because I was comfortable performing for cameras. However, we didn't do lines in Glee Project, so we didn't do scenes. We just did music videos. So to actually like have to hit a mark, look another person in the eye, and say lines, I was like, and it was really difficult to do, and especially when your first scene is with Leah Michelle and Chris Colfer, and I was like, I just turned 20 and I was like, I don't belong here. What am I doing? Um, and it was the first episode of season 3, that first episode that I shot. I was there the first day of filming after their hiatus, and I was, I don't know, I don't really remember too much. I remember some people being really warm, and I remember some people not caring because
Right,
they were just back at work.
right.
Um, but I mean, here's the thing. You know that the show is going to be okay to work in if the hair and makeup crew is a dream, and that hair and makeup crew was a dream. They were so kind, they were so funny. And those are the people that you are with first thing in the morning before you go do anything else. Even before you go do rehearsal, you're usually in the hair and makeup chair first. And it's really a lot of the vibe begins in the hair and makeup trailer. So
For sure.
that was an absolute blast. And um, yeah, and the rehearsal, I mean, you can't teach a goat to tap dance. I'm sorry, I'm a goat and I can't tap dance. But they rehearsed with me for like 3 days, and by the end they were like, we're just not going to show your feet. I was like, cool. It was, like I
My
can
upper body will be hitting it
I'm
hard.
like, I was like, this is your money, you guys. This is what you've got. And it was kind of the same. The flamenco for Buenos Aires was a little bit easier, but it was more footwork rather than like trying to make my ankles do things that I don't
Sure.
think anybody's ankles can naturally do. If you can, oh my God, you have a long career ahead of you.
But how wild for a show like that they would be writing shows and creating basically creating content where they're not doing a audition like a Broadway show. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like they're not assessing all those skill levels. They're just like, of course
right.
she can tap because
They
she
just
can
work
step
around
her
it.
off.
Yeah,
Of
they
course she
just work
can.
around it. If you can't, here's the trick. If you can't do it, get 50 other people that can do it, do it
Around,
around you, and
yeah,
then you look like you're doing it. It's
that's
incredible.
the
It's
trick of
the
almost
best
every
lie,
star. Yeah, exactly
best
right.
lie I've ever been fed is that I was on the same caliber as all of those dancers.
That's amazing. I
Best
love
lie.
it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So then you got many other shows that came after that. You got to
Yeah.
do some episodes in Drop Dead Diva, which was a big hit when it was on. Grey's Anatomy, still on TV. So what were briefly like those two sets? Were those super fun to be a part of? Or those things that were impactful for you?
Yeah, one of the best things about working on Drop Dead Diva was they filmed in Georgia, not in
Right.
Atlanta. They filmed in a small town called Peachtree City. And anybody that flies in that's not a resident of Georgia or like an Atlanta hire, they fly into the airport and then are driven out into the middle of God knows where, Peachtree City, Georgia. Beautiful town, beautiful town. But you get put in these hotels that are basically conference hotels, so they're pretty much empty,
Yeah.
like most of the year. So it's just like 20 actors. Fun fact, the same studio in Peachtree City, Georgia, we were filming Drop Dead Diva and The Walking Dead. So imagine like Lifetime actors or actors that film Lifetime shows, really, really like delicate and like
Yeah.
cherubic and like beautiful, clean, well put together. And then you
The
get the
zombies.
Walking Dead
Yeah.
actors, and they're
Yeah.
just like gritty and ripped and like disgusting and disheveled and gorgeous. So
Yeah.
we'd all walk in and we'd be like, I know what show you're filming,
Yeah.
and I know that I'm not
There
filming
was
that
like no
show.
question.
It
Yeah.
was hilarious. It was because they film a lot of the Walking Dead stuff like in the fields of Georgia. And so it was like, and the girl that was doing my makeup for the week that or the 2 weeks that I was working there was the woman, if anybody has ever seen The Walking Dead, that first episode with the zombie that has no bottom, that's just crawling. She did that entire makeup work. She didn't do any of that on me, but I was like, oh my God, you're a legend. And that was
Amazing.
really fun.
Man, and just sidebar, Georgia's like the place to be now. It's like the new
That,
LA and New York combined.
it is.
Everything.
It
Netflix
is.
filmed like
Yeah.
everything there. But anyway, amazing. So now you've made your Broadway debut
Holy
as
cow.
Elphaba and Wicked.
Yeah.
Holy cow, right? And so many questions. First of all, what number Elphaba are you?
What
Do you know?
number am I?
Yeah, usually like because I know my friend was like number 10 or number 12. You know what I mean? Like, do you even have any idea like what you're up to now?
I saw somebody sent a video to me the other day, and if I didn't really watch it because I don't like to hear or watch myself back in
Yes.
performance because
Same.
I'm my worst critic. But
Yeah.
somebody sent a compilation of Defying Gravity, starting with Idina Menzel and ending with me, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I couldn't believe that I was attached to that video. It was
Right.
Hannah Corneau and then me doing the ending of the song, and I was like,
You're like, oh my God.
I'm Elphaba. Like, I was like, Jesus Christ. I couldn't believe it. I really, sorry for anybody that doesn't like cursing. I just get excited.
Okay.
But I couldn't believe it. I don't know which one I am though. I'd have to go back and count.
Yeah,
Somebody probably, I don't know. Somebody could probably look up a list and let me know. Should I know that?
well, no, I just know that a lot of the girls I know that have done it, like,
I'm number 10, I'm number 11. Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like,
I think I might be like 18, 19.
wow. It's just amazing because I mean, with a show that's a machine like that will outlive us all. Like, it will
Yes.
still be on Broadway when we're all dead and gone.
Yes.
Like it's one of those shows where you're like, how many people fill a part? You know what I mean? Because they're also like they're working on casting the next person before you've even started rehearsals. Like they're always thinking that far out, right?
Yeah.
So,
And if it's not for Broadway, it's for the tour. And if it's not for tour, it's for West End. And if it's not for that, it's for Australia. And it's for, I mean, we're global.
right.
It's absolutely cool. It's
crazy town. So how many times did you go in to audition for the show? And then like, if it was just the one time, then how long was your audition for? I know that sometimes it's like over the course of months, sometimes it's fast. What was it like for you?
I auditioned in Los Angeles. I had an agent audition. I had to become a member of Actors Equity for this job, which is, I think, a fantastic way to get your equity card.
Not too shabby.
Fantastic. This was my first audition for Broadway ever. And I just had never been given an opportunity. I think once I'd been cast in Glee Project, my plan was to, before I got cast in Glee Project, my plan was to go and land a spot in a BFA program at some school and get my degree and then move to New York and do the damn thing. And the funniest part of that was I was denied to every single school that I applied to and auditioned for. And I was a 4.0 student, and I had been performing my whole life, and I was denied to every school.
This is when you
Every
get to write
one.
them all a letter with your
I know. I'm just gonna send them a photo of me.
Send them that video. Just send them that video.
And here's the thing. Do you know the interesting thing was like clearly that was not my path, and that does not mean that that's not other people's path.
Right.
But I was so concerned that like I wasn't going to get the dance training, the tap training. I wasn't going to get the dance training that I needed, or I wasn't going to get the Meisner or the Stanislavski or the vocal training that I was going to get. And I learned all of it anyway, because when it's your path, it's your path. And
you figure it out.
I once I moved to LA, I didn't really have opportunities. Once Glee had happened, the representation at the time that I had, which they were amazing representation, we were really focused on television, film, and like some Los Angeles theater stuff, but I don't recall, I feel like I would remember, I do not recall ever going in for Broadway. I think I auditioned for one Jersey Boys tour.
Okay.
Like years ago, and I didn't know anything about the show, but I wanted to make good faith, so I went, and did not have a good experience. I just wasn't right for it. I remember I remember walking in and being like, I don't look like anybody else in this room, and I don't
like 6 feet tall and much older than you. Yeah.
I was way too young. I was like 22, and all of these other women were like 28 to 35, which is the correct age group. And so when I got my audition for Wicked, I was like, oh my God, I get to be in the room. Hamilton reference, but I was like, I really get to be in the room. And it had been a dream of mine to be at least in the room for an audition. And I was very, very lucky that my vocal coach in Los Angeles is an original Wicked cast member. So when I messaged her and said, hey, I forwarded her the email and said, I have an audition for this, let's work on it. And I worked on it with her for the week moving up to and the day of my Monday audition. And then I got a call back in the room. And then I went back
in the room. They said, we want to see you again.
Back on Wednesday. And I was like, ooh. And then and little did I know that a bunch of friends knew the casting director, and they were like, you're going in for Wicked? Amazing. And they didn't say anything else, but apparently they all texted the casting director and was like, this girl's coming in. She deserves a second look. Like, just trust us. You have to, she's not done anything beyond like television. Like, she's done a ton of like work in LA, just trust us. She doesn't have any New York credits, just trust us, like listen to us. And he was like, okay. And I think that's a testament to developing a work style that is fun to be around, and a work style that's the work ethic is very strong, and that you present yourself in a way of, I don't know, so many people will hire somebody that's great to work with who might be less qualified in terms of talent or training than you know what I'm saying? So I went in and they were like, oh, we want to see you again on Wednesday. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, I have a callback. And I went in again on Wednesday, and everybody was there. The associate director, the music director, everybody from the first audition. And I remember finishing, and something that the associate director, her name is Lisa, she said that really impressed her was I went into the audition looking like I was ready to play the part. Like I just walked in, I get it. My vocal coach said, see the gig. When you sing the songs, this is your moment to be Elphaba. So even if they don't ever listen to you again, if you never get called back, if you want to play Elphaba so damn bad, you better be Elphaba in the room. Just be her. And so I went in and I had everything memorized and didn't look down at my book once. And Lisa said that I came in with a gleam in my eye and a straight back. And she said, are you ready for us? And I said, yeah. And I put the book down on the floor.
I sure am. She
was like, great. And then so I walked out, and as I was leaving, she went, one more question. How tall are you really? And I was like, I'm 5'3"3/4. And she was like, okay, she's very honest. And then I didn't hear anything for about a week. And my thought was that if I was to get called back again, I would have to fly to New York, which is usually how I guess these things work. This was my first time. And they called after, during Thanksgiving weekend. I went in after Thanksgiving weekend because something had happened to the video and the audio connection of the tape. And so they said, can you come in? But I had another gig during all the times that they wanted me to come in. And I jokingly was like, I mean, I could do it at like 9:30 in the morning. And they were like, great. And, and I had to go in and sing it at 9:30 in the morning. And I walked out of there being like, 100% did not book that. 100% did not book that. But I gave it my all and I did my best. And on the 2nd of January, I got a call that I was going to be the next Elphaba on Broadway.
Wow.
And I was driving and my agent called me and she said, I feel like I've told this story 100 times and it still gives me like the goose pimples. And she was like, hey, I'm getting on a plane. I have to tell you something really quick. I just got an email. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that she was calling me about a movie that I'd been on hold for. So I was like, great. Wicked was not in my head. I was like,
I didn't book it.
I didn't book it, or they're going to call me in some other time. Like they're going to call me into New York. And she said, quick question to ask you. And I said, great. Yes. And she was like, well, how do you feel about moving to New York to play Elphaba and Wicked on Broadway?
You're like, ugh.
I was driving in the car and I was like, oh my God. And I did, and I was going to Walgreens to pick up some stuff, and I pulled into the Walgreens parking lot and I went, Natalie, are you kidding me? And she was like, no, I'm not. I'm being dead serious. And I was like, okay, but are you sure? And she was like, yes, Lindsay, I have the offer in my email. And I said, okay. And time goes by and she's like, are you still on the phone? And I was like, yes. Question, are they sure? She was like, yes, they're sure, Lindsay. And I was like, when do I go? And she said, you start work on the 28th. And it was the 2nd of January. And I was like,
you're like, okay. Oh my God.
Like, all right, I guess we're doing this.
So amazing. So amazing. What was your first performance like? Do you remember it?
Yes, I do. I do remember it. And I'm so glad I remember every single second of it. It was exhilarating and devastatingly exhausting. You really do feel like you're getting shot out of a cannon. And by shot out of a cannon, I mean, you feel like you've been in a head-on collision and you forgot to put your seatbelt on and you've flown through the glass. Yeah. And landed on your feet somehow. And you're like, I'm okay. Like it was really absolutely insane. And I remember running out for my bow, and it was a kids' night. So this was a night where we were celebrating children and all of their teachers and all of the parents that got the children to where they were that day. And our Bach was like, could we have a round of applause for all of the parents? And I'll never forget it, but I could see my mom and my birth mom right down in the middle, like 6 rows back. And I went, I love you. And they were like, oh my God, it was just full circle. And it was so special.
Are you adopted?
Yeah.
We're an adopted family. I love, that's a whole nother segment, but it's such an amazing, powerful thing. Yeah. Awesome.
Women.
So
things.
Yeah, right. And I love Natalie. That's how we met. Natalie, we all went to high school together. She's a great person.
Best.
So I have a bunch of questions, but we have to start moving into our next part of this with the audition masterclass part. But I have a few more questions. I'm going to edit some of these. So for you, how much has your life, like, it's a crime against nature that they don't have a matinee Elphaba, you know what I mean? That you're not one of the roles on Broadway that gets a show off. So how have you prepared yourself mentally, physically, stamina-wise? What are your tricks of the trade? What have you had to give up? How has your life changed? You know what I mean? That kind of way, just to be able to sustain this kind of role.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing about that company is that these leads do have standbys, and then we also have understudies. So Jenny DeNoia is a very famous, has been around for a long time, Elphaba, and she's my standby, which is ridiculous to say out loud because I should be her standby. She's amazing. And she's the woman that's played Elphaba more times than any other person all over the world. So she's the best kind of standby because she can literally blink and she's in the green and
Yeah.
she's in it. Like she knows what her body knows it.
Right.
So I'm very grateful to her. And she is not a standby that's aching to take apart from somebody else, which I guess happens a lot. I'm very new to this.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine feeling that way, but I also can't imagine, the ache. And she's so chill. And there's they realize, like, they above all people know how hard this gig is. Everybody at Wicked knows how difficult Elphaba and Glinda are, and they are like, do not be a hero. If you need to call out,
That was another question of mine. I was like, when do
if you need to call out, you call out, because I'd rather lose you for 2 or 3 shows out of the week than lose you for 2 months.
Right. And when do you know? I know it's such a personal thing for each person, but for you, when do you know this is
Um,
not
I
today?
I had a moment. I injured myself my first week, not vocally. I ran out in the famous Elphaba run out scene in the shiz and the glasses and the beanie and the thing.
Yeah.
And I ran out and I landed, and we work on what's called a rake stage. So that's
Yeah.
when your stage is at an incline. So if you're moving backwards, you're walking uphill backwards.
Yeah.
Fun. And so I love my job. And so I landed and I was like, wow, shiz, holy shit, I just really hurt my hip. And I kind of like moved my left side around and I was like, oh man, I have 2.5 more hours to go. And I had pulled my minor psoas muscle in the left side of my hip. And so, which is the muscle that connects to your IT band, and it connects to your sciatic nerve, and it connects to your groin. And it's like,
All of
and
it.
it was a whole thing, your quad, your knee, and it affects your whole leg. And I was like, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. And then they put that 17-pound dress on me, and I was like, I'm not fine. And so they had me not do the morning show the next day. And then they had me come in with physical therapy, and then I did the second show, and then on Sunday they didn't let me do the matinee because they were like, you know what, we just do one. And then between the matinee I went to another physical therapy session, and the physical therapist was like, you're gonna have to be out for like 5 more shows. And I was like, no. I was so upset. And they were like, it's crazy that it wasn't my voice that went out first, which I lucky draw, could have gone out the next week, who knows. But yeah, and that was a real lesson in patience of having to stay out and take care of my body. And there were things like I didn't drink coffee and I have acid reflux, so I don't eat nightshades, tomatoes or potatoes, because they give me acid reflux. I'm allergic to nightshades, eggplant. I'm not a gluten-free, I don't have celiac, so I'm not a gluten-free person, but it does irritate my stomach and it gives me kickback in my throat. So I was gluten-free. I wasn't eating tomatoes or potatoes, so that meant no French fries, which was hell.
Yeah.
And absolute hell. I'm not kidding. Sweet potatoes don't hit the same. They're not the same. And no coffee, lots of tea, lots of water, lots of sleep. A lot of core exercises, straw phonating, and I was taking lessons with Joan Lader, who's a really, really famous vocal coach, has coached many an Elphaba, many a Hamilton cast member. I mean, everybody, every great singer on Broadway across the board, it's likely Joan. And so that was really helpful as well. I was taking voice lessons as I was doing my show. So that was a really helpful thing. It really kept me in shape.
By the way, I'm so sorry. We're hearing the high C like thing. My notifications, I cannot turn them off on my computer for some reason. So apologies to all. Okay, a couple more questions because then we really have to get into this thing. I'm getting the wrap because we have to be done by 5 minutes till the hour. We might have to go over a little bit, but yeah, because I wanted to ask you about like even just talking after, because I know talking for me tires me out more than singing. Yeah. So just even talking after the show, I would imagine be exhausting. But tell me favorite, funniest, whatever story, on stage blooper type moment that you might have.
I have 2. I was only in the show for 3 weeks before we went dark, and there were 2 moments. One of them was the, I think, second or third show that I ever did. I was standing, they were singing shiz and looking at me, and I went, what? What are you all looking at? And I go, all right, fine, throw my suitcase down, and I whipped my head this way, and my glasses went flying off my face, like out from behind my ears, through my wig, like out. And I, without blinking, and I don't really remember this, but every cast member was like, without blinking, I went and put them back on my face and kept saying my lines because I just didn't even, I was like, keep going. Nothing can faze me. And they were like, you like Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid, that like the glasses right back and put them on my face and was like, no, I'm not seasick. Yes, I've always been green. And like, it just kept going. And people after the scene, the first time that I get to go off is Dancing Through Life is my first break. And my bot came, like, so many people were like, oh my God, I cannot believe you did that. And I was like, I don't remember it. But apparently I just went, boom, shoot, and like put them back on my head because I was like, I'll be damned if I break these things.
Yeah.
And then the second one was the day that I came back after my leg injury. It was like a Friday night or a Saturday night. And I'd been practicing my lines. Like I'd only had like 5-6 shows under my belt. So I did, it's the same moment. Clearly that's my moment in the show. I went, all right, fine, we might as well get this over with. And I turned and I was like, no, I'm not green, but I am green. I'm not seasick either. Like, and I just like got myself out to get to the next line. And the whole cast is like standing there with their suitcases looking horrified. And I just see them slowly like, here's a suitcase. I just see them all saying like this, and they all go at the same time, just covering their faces. And I was like, oh, like cross-eyed, just grasping at straws. And I remember turning around and I could feel one green trickle of sweat just going down my face. You're like, and I could already hear, I was just waiting for like a text from Mary Beth Abel, very famous stage manager of Wicked. I was just like, well, I'm going to get a note on that later. I've been on stage for 2 minutes, not even, and I've already messed it up. Yeah.
So a couple last quick questions.
Yeah.
Favorite moment of the show? First of all, Michaela Martinez is making her Broadway debut in that show. And 3D Mom, I love her.
She's one of the ones that was like, oh my God, these are angels.
I love her.
I worked with her a lot. She was my Nessa through all my rehearsals.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. So favorite moment of the show, least favorite moment of the show.
Favorite moment of the show. Oh man. I really love God. I was like, do I remember the show? I really love any time with the Glindas. I really, really love any of those bonding moments with them. Popular is really fun because I don't do anything.
You just get to be
I just get to sit there and watch Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs play.
Yeah.
It's the best. I literally just sit there and she flits around me like a little butterfly and I just try to copy her. And that's the most fun is that. And then when Elphaba is practicing the toss that Fierro makes fun of, that's really, really, I love when Elphaba gets a chance to just be a girl.
Yeah.
Be a woman. I just really enjoy when she's not, it doesn't feel like she's a gun to the back of her neck. Like you must be like a social, like justice human, and which is the most amazing part of her character. But when you just get to see like the human that is Elphaba, it's that's, and I think my least favorite part of the show, I love the Elphaba dance. When she's just like, trying to be like, you know what? Screw all of you and all your ideas of me. I'm gonna show you. And then she's like, just
so awkward.
A turtle being like electrocuted. It's so embarrassing. And the audience just it's like the moment where everyone's like, oh, I love her. And it's kind of when I'm like, oh my God, I love her so much. My least favorite part of the show is a technical thing. And it is every single time that I have to sing, or any Elphaba has to sing an 11 o'clock number, we have been sprinting right before. So for Defying Gravity, you run out of the monkey, the wizard chamber, and we go down what are called the suicide stairs because they're so steep. And you have to go under the stage, and then you whip around the electric docks and all of the men working on the mechanics of the show. you whip around, and then you sprint down a hallway, and then you run upstairs, you wave hi to the band, you take a drink of water, you hand the water bottle back to your wig girl, and then you run up it literally at the same like all of that happens, and then you go, there are no more stairs, this must be the attic, that quick. And then you have to sing Defying Gravity. So it's really, and it's the same thing for No Good Deed. No Good Deed is pretty much the same run, and it's faster. You run off stage, and then you run underneath, you get your dress handed to you, and you're holding on, and then you kind of you have to take a pin out of your hair, and then you get around the book, and you just hear someone go, she's in, go, and then you hear and the thing opens and you rise up, and it is exhausting. It is exhausting. I would say that
talk to Joe Mantello about that.
no, I was like, what are you guys thinking? Like the part wasn't hard enough, and you're in a 17-pound dress in Act 2, so it's like, it's hard.
Gross.
But
and
it's
awesome.
I hate to say that it's my least. I think it's the hardest part of the show.
I'm gonna say people who say that actors are not athletes they need to go play a part like that, because that is extremely athletic. Lastly, and then we're gonna dive into these coachings real quick. What are you doing currently to keep the show in your body? Are you singing through it every day, making sure the stamina is there, or are you just kind of piecing out until you come back?
Yeah, for the first couple weeks, because we were told 30 days, and then we were told something else, and then we were told something else. So for the first little bit, we were all keeping up with it, because we were like, we're coming back in a month. So like, we have to stay fit and ready. And then it's been a little easier to kind of give ourselves the break. Yeah. I do sing every day. I don't sing the show necessarily, because I won't lie, it's a little painful. It makes me a little sad. Yeah. We had a big company
especially meeting. Just getting like a taste of it. You would
just well, and I think that there's worth to be found in singing and practicing other songs, because it's amazing. And this is a tip for all of you, if you want to write this down. Whatever song you're working on, work on another song that has the same kind of difficulty level, and you'll be amazed, because when you learn a song so deeply, you learn the notes, you learn the lyrics, you learn, the story, whatever it is, you sink into a pigeonhole and a habitual performance of that song. So when I start working on other songs that, for example, I was working on the new Demi Lovato song that she sang at the Grammys, and I had no problem sailing these notes. And then I went, oh, is there anyone? And then I matched it to a note that I was hitting in Wicked, and I was like, that's the same note.
You're like,
oh, it's not as it's so much of this. Right. And so I think and being able to kind of have the time to work on other songs is really nice, and that's been something that's been really fun.
That's amazing. You guys, this has been so cool to hear this journey and talk about all these amazing things with you. So now it's time for Lindsay to share some of her wisdom with these two amazing ladies that she picked to work with. First up, we have Maddie. I'm gonna let you guys just go ahead and take it over. We have about 5 plus some minutes with each person. So yeah. My apologies for going a little bit long on the interview. Here we go. Have fun.
Hi. Hi, love.
Sorry, I can't see you right now.
It's okay. Okay,
so,
you don't have to.
Yeah, Maddie, go ahead and tell the room what you're singing. This is going to be a cappella, everybody. There's no track for this one. Tell the room what you're singing and just dive in.
Okay, I'll be singing Legally Blonde from Legally Blonde. Take back the books and pack up the clothes. Clear out the room and drop off the key. Leave with what's left of my dignity. Get in the car and just go. Chalk it all up to experience. They said I'd fail, but I disagree. Who could say then where my path would lead? Well, now I know. Back to the sun, back to the shore, back to what I was before. Back where I'm known, back in my own very small pond. Laugh with my friends when I arrive. We'll drop the top and just drive. That's fine with me. Just let me be legally blonde. Thank you.
What a beautiful voice. Thank you for sharing that. Something that I think in workshops like this, it's so easy to focus on, or people want to know technique, or they want to know, how do I hit this note, or how do I do that? And those things are all so important. But I think one of the most eye-catching things and one of the most important things about auditions, or performance in general, especially when you have a small cut of a song that you get to sing for somebody, is to really tell the story. Because I will be honest with I don't know how many people are in this room, 55 people in this room. Most of the time, in my experience, if you can sing beautifully but can act your butt off, that's the choice. So these lyrics, I have them pulled up for you. Every time that I teach kind of song building or story building, I stress. If you hear in the lyrics a repetition, like back to the sun, back to the shore, back to what I was before. Why is she saying back so many times? Does that hurt every time she says it? Why is she repeating it so many times? That's me, because it means something. So it could be back to the sun, back to the shore, back to what I was before. Because I don't think she loves this idea that she's had her ass handed to her, right? So I think it's really always, even if you're just singing a cut of a song, try to deeply think about what's happened before you start singing, like what has happened in the scene, and allow yourself, like Kathy told me, see that gig. Really imagine what it would be like to shut a door after having all of your dreams smashed and having to come to the reality of your situation, of kind of accepting defeat. That's tough, right? That sucks. And I feel like we've all experienced some form of that. And when you work on this again, because this is such a beautiful song and it fits so well in your voice, you have such a beautiful lyrical sound, really think of I can't stress the words enough. So if you go back and you think, take back the books and pack up the clothes, clear out the room and drop off the key, leave what's left of my dignity. Ouch. And you sing it so beautifully, but I'd rather see you feel it beautifully. And they all said I'd fail, but I disagreed. Who could say then where my path would lead? Well, now I know. So they were all right in the end. And I think there's not like a hopefulness to the song. There's more of she's been defeated. And I think that there is beauty in that, because then the song obviously and the story obviously bleeds into another moment and someone's trying to convince her to stay. So a blonde girl that's like, I'm not just a stupid blonde, finally agrees that she's a stupid blonde. And that's painful. And I think that if you can find that in your gut to really think about, now that you know the words and you can sing it so beautifully, you know the song, like I said before, I want you to sing the words as if you've heard them for the first time, as if you're hearing them as they come out of your mouth. And think of back to the sun, back to the shore, back to what I was before, back where I'm known, back in my own very small pond. These are all conjurations, and these are hard things to say because she wanted more than that. So imagine how difficult each one might be to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You try it one more time for me.
Okay.
You've already got the goods, I want that story. So like, just to recap, tiny little package, really take a breath and really imagine that you are saying you're admitting these things to yourself for the first time, and they're not so easy to say.
Okay. Take back the books and pack up the clothes. Clear out the room and drop off the key. Leave with what's left of my dignity. Get in the car and just go. Chalk it all up to experience. They said I'd fail and I disagreed. Who could say then where my path would lead? Well, now I know. Back to the sun, back to the shore, back to what I was before. Back where I'm known, back in my own very small pond. Laugh with my friends when I arrive. We'll drop the top and just drive. That's fine with me. Just let me be legally blonde.
How did that feel?
Really good.
That made me sad in a really good way. I don't know about anybody else, but that was, if you continue to work that kind of work when deconstructing a song, I think that watching you close your eyes and say something that you didn't want to say was really vulnerable and really beautiful. And I was so captivated because I wasn't just focusing on how beautiful your voice was. I was watching your eyes fill up with tears, and I was watching your cheeks flush, and it was really, really lovely. What do you think, TJ?
I was just gonna say, like, everything you said was right on the money, and the adjustment was so well done, Maddie. It was a huge difference, and everyone in the chat even is saying that. You did a beautiful job, and your eyes you have such a vulnerability and sweetness, and so to see someone going through something hard like that is really impactful. So I think well worth the journey of continuing to work on the song.
Yeah.
Your book. Great work.
So good, truly. I got sad. I was like, "Oh, this." I just left her.
Like it was, yeah, right at the beginning. It was so like connected. It was very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, on to our next one. A round of applause for Maddie. That was beautiful, Maddie. Thank you. And I'm going. Oh, go ahead and unmute yours. Oh, there you are. Yeah, good, perfect, awesome. Go for it, you guys.
Hi, this is Anywhere But Here from Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, and wait, my speaker, because you can't hear my phone, so sorry. All right, there we go. Hold on. There's a house in Mount Kisco that I saw from the train when I went to my college reunion. It was sort of old-fashioned and a little bit plain, but I saw there were swings in the yard. And I looked at that swing set, and without any warning, I was totally grieving like a woman in mourning. And all that I wanted was a house in Mount Kisco with a rusty old swing set for our baby to ride. Somewhere in New York, winds are blowing, winter's going into spring. Everywhere you look, things are growing anywhere but here.
So good. I think something that will really help you. So it's interesting, you guys have both sang these things beautifully and have connected in your own way to these songs. I think something that will really benefit you and the kind of singer that you are is I want you to commit to D's when you're ending a word that ends with a D, like sort of old-fashioned. When you say, but I saw there was swings in the yard. That's gonna really help put a period on the end of some thoughts. And something that I want you to think about looking at the lyrics for this song, kind of like with the last note that I gave Maggie, you have such a good painting of the picture. I can see that you're seeing it. I can see that you're there, you're hopeful, you're feeling all the feelings. Do not start all the way up here. I want you to, you know, in this song, I would rather you start here-ish and be kind of admitting that you have this dream and that you saw this house on the way to your college reunion. Because if you kind of sing in this opening and you draw us in by staying here, it gives you permission and it gives you more space to climb and climb and climb. So then when you get a little bit higher and then somewhere in New York the winds are blowing, you can bring it back down. I think the fun thing about this song is old-fashioned, a little bit plain, but I saw there were swings in the yard. And then when you get down to without any warning, I was totally grieving. It's called like a diphthong when you don't have a hard consonant, but there's a clear end to the word. So, and without any warning, I was totally grieving like a woman in mourning. Having that thing gives you pop to move into the next phrase, because it's like they're all the words are coming to you for the first time and you're like, oh my God, this is so much. And then once you get, and I want it, and that will give you that kind of permission of climbing the stage. It's like a roller coaster, right? You're going chugga, 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 out any warning. All that I wanted was a house in Mount Kisco, and you're still going with a rusty old swing set for a baby to ride. And then somewhere in New York, that can be back down to the very beginning of admitting there's a house that you really love. Winds are blowing, winters. Does that make sense? I think just having little things that it's like having a little bit of clay and you're just shaving off the stuff that you don't need. Because if you, they would tell me this in Wicked, especially for Wizard and I, they were like, do not sing the song so hard, because then once you get to with me, you have nothing left. You're so tired. And it really only opens up towards the end. So if you tell that story as kind of a slow burn, because you have such a great powerful voice in there, and I don't know where it's coming from, but you have this great powerful voice in there. If you reel me in by like, I want it to be like you're sitting next to me going, okay, so there's this house and it's this, and then like, oh my God, and I have all these things, and I saw it on my reunion, and there's all these all these things that I'm feeling about it, and then oh my God, I could do this, and then I was so into it, and then this, and because I kind of like want a family to put in the house. And then you come back down. Does that make sense? I think if you, same kind of note of really hearing the words for the first time as you're singing it, but that tiny little vocal trick of without any warning, I was totally grieving like a woman in mourning. And it also gives you permission to breathe after. So without any warning, I was totally grieving like a woman in mourning. And all that I wanted was a house, and climbing, 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 and then back down. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course.
Yay. Okay, try it again.
There's a house in Mount Kisco that I saw from the train, but when I went to my college reunion, it was sort of old-fashioned and a little bit plain. But I saw there were swings in the yard. And I looked at that swing set, and without any warning, I was totally grieving like a woman in mourning. And all that I wanted was a house in Mount Kisco with a rusty old swing set for our baby to ride. Somewhere in New York, winds are blowing, winter's going into spring. Everywhere you look, things are growing anywhere but here.
So good. That was so good. How did that feel?
Better. I feel like I saw him that time.
Yeah, I could see it when you were kind of throwing away. You were like, it's not a big deal, but like, I really love this. I was like, ooh, that's so good. That was really so lovely. What'd you think, TJ?
100% agreed. That was so lovely. And both of you guys, please, a huge round of applause. It's such a vulnerable thing to do, to come onto this new format and do this in front of a bunch of strangers, let alone, you know, a coach who, an Elphaba on Broadway, and you've never met her. So come on, a huge round of applause for all these people, and a huge round of applause for this incredible artist, Lindsay, for coming on and sharing her story, sharing her talents, sharing her time. Maybe when we come back from hiatus, Lindsay, you'll come back and do like just a full coaching hour with like 5 students or something.
Absolutely, I would love to.
It'd be amazing. Your voice is just, even just listening to you coach, I'm like, sing, please. And how have you not done a show? How were you out here in LA and never done a show for me? We'll have to figure that out the next time. So when we all come back from Corona and after you've done between another Broadway show, you'll have to come out and do something with us.
I'm down.
Awesome.
I'm down. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for staying over the time limit. I really appreciate it. You're all beautiful. You're all worthy, and you're unlimited.
Woo! Yes. Amen. Thank you, Lindsay. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Thanks, everybody.